Excuse me, sir, could I continue with the questions? I really appreciate your patience. Thank you. My next question is, obviously, this is very emotional for so many people around the world, but through it all, everything that we've seen on television, on media, something horrific has been growing, which is anti-Semitism, and actually increased racism as well. My question is to you, Roz. You've been working with all the universities, trying to educate people and students and professors against any kind of racism and any kind of discrimination and anti-Semitism. Please explain, what is this, what is happening here? What is going to happen, and what do we do about it?
I think, first of all, thank you, Daphna, for putting the evening together and for everything you've done. Thank you, Rabbi Baron, for hosting. And thank you for having me on the panel. I think we can all see and read about the encampments and the reaction to October 7th, which was unexpected, really. We watched the film, we got a glimpse of what happened, and so everybody thought Jewish students would return to college campuses after the holidays, after October 7th, and maybe be supported. And when they returned, unfortunately, they got a very big, bad surprise. There was not only non-support, but there were rallies that were, promoting Hamas. There were flags, Hamas flags, and Hezbollah flags, and then the encampments, and a lot of discrimination against Jewish students and Israeli students. So not only did they not get the kind of support that one might predict, but they got quite the opposite. And statements like resistance, terrorism is not resistance. So, I'm sorry, terrorism, resistance is not terrorism. Thank you. And so resistance is not terrorism. So everything we saw on October the 7th, including the rapes, including the torture, including the kidnapping, and by the way, I just want to say, we should all hold in our hearts that there are 120 hostages still being held as we sit here on this stage, and we know for a fact that 44 are dead. So time is running out, and we need to do everything we can to lift up the stories, but also to push for their release. The question I think you're asking is, how could the opposite have happened?
Exactly.
And students really came back to school hoping, not just in colleges, by the way, but that's what we see in the news, but also in high schools. 100% of our Jewish students in high schools are telling us that they're experiencing anti-Semitism. So it's really big, it's really bold, and I'm a daughter of 2 Holocaust survivors. I think this is a flashpoint. I think there's a lot of ignorance out there. It's why we do the work we do at Stand With Us. We have to educate people like the film has done tonight. Hopefully people learn something new and will take it back with them. Education is a road to peace. We have to promote that, because without it, the ignorant people who have no information are very susceptible. They're very vulnerable to lies and misinformation. And so we have students that are running this whole anti-Semitic push, and then we have all the other students who are following along because they don't have information. So we need to continue to promote good, solid facts out there.
It's interesting because I was on a call actually with quite a number of Congress people. I took actually the Black Caucus to introduce them in Israel to the new industry some time ago. And I was on a call, and AOC said something that shocked me. She actually said that it's time for the Palestinians to have their country back. And she meant Israel. And I said to her, why do you think that that's so? And she said, well, it says so everywhere in history books. So I said to her, how many times do you think Jerusalem is mentioned in the Quran? And she said, many times. I said, not once. How many times Jerusalem is mentioned in the Old Testament and the New Testament? It's almost every second page. But it shocked me, the level of ignorance within our own leaders. And I'm not talking about politics. I'm just talking about the need for education.
Right, and I want to just end with one very, very important thing, and that is this is a moment in time when we hear our students asking for help. We hear them, and shame on the universities for not following their own rules on their campuses. Shame on them. And we need to push them to do so, but we need to also stand by the sides of our students. This is a moment when we need to help them feel their pride and help them express themselves and let them know that they're not alone.
Thank you for that. You know, which brings me to you, Zinab. You know, you have really created quite a following of Muslim young communities. And you've been speaking against anti-Semitism and really speaking about October 7th and writing about it. And I read your Wall Street Journal piece. And I was very touched. And I wanted to know, you're Muslim, what did it all mean to you? And why have you decided to take such a stand against anti-Semitism?
Thank you, Daphne. To answer this question, I'll kind of start with why I started Mala. Our works predated October 7th. And I will say that since 9/11, Muslim American voices such as myself have been bullied into silence. And I call this coerced cohesion. If we dare to speak out against extremism, against anti-Semitism, against violence in our own communities, if we dare to do that, we are called traitors, bigots, Islamophobes. The word Zionist is spit at us as if it's some sort of slur. Either that or our voices become tokenized. The left and the Islamists have had a monopoly on Muslim American representation since 9/11. And the core problem remains because the majority of mainstream Muslim American organizations are Islamists. And I started Mala because Muslim Americans deserve better. Now, post-October 7th, the masks came off, and I think we can all agree that universally the line of empathy and humanity changed. What I found to be so deeply disturbing was that simply sharing empathy or reaching out to support our Jewish American brothers and sisters, somehow that translated into supporting and signaling a signal of support for bombing Gaza. How many of us have heard this? I'm not against Jews, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm against Zionism, I'm anti-Zionist. That has become the reason why Cheryl made this film. This is why the denial happens. I penned the op-ed in the Wall Street Journal because we have a lot of work to do in the community. I wrote about anti-Semitism in the Muslim American community because October 7th drew a line in the sand. And I will say that the problem is going to continue as long as we have organizations like CARE having a seat and being present at the White House Summit on anti-Semitism. We are going to continue having this problem. And as long as we have elected officials like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar be the main faces of Muslim American civic engagement, we are not getting anywhere. And this is why we started this. This is why, because Mala is so important. We need Muslim American voices. We need a place, we need a home for voices like myself, like Ahmad's, This is the reason why you can be proud of your Muslim American heritage. You can reject grievances. You can set an example to break anti-Semitism that's been passed on from generation to generation. Because all it does is it disempowers and marginalizes us, and it justifies the hate that exists in our community.
It's amazing.